This video's a recording of an interview that I had a chance to do with Mary Kay from Acme Metal Spinning, sharing all the amazing projects that they do there. All right, we are here today with Mary Kay of Acme Metal Spinning, and she's just going to share a brief presentation about what Acme Metal Spinning does and metal spinning in general, and we'll just have a little conversation about that. So I'll turn things over to you, Mary Kay.
Thanks, James. Yeah, this is great. Well, hello. Yeah, Acme Metal Spinning is located in Minnesota, and we are hiring. It's an industry, the hand spinning, it's, less and less people are able to do it. So it's kind of neat to find James here and that he is a metal spinner on YouTube. So we connected and we thought that it would be fun to tell more people about what we're doing in the professional field here. So I'll share my screen with you. Okay, so here we are. Acme is located in Fridley, Minnesota, and this company has been in business since 1908. It's been family owned since 1956. The one who bought it was the great-grandfather of a man that's working here now in our production department. He's the production manager. And the man, he bought the company, and then he hired his 4 sons to be metal spinners. So anyhow, Acme has under 30 employees, and we work in socially distanced workspaces, which is important this day and age, I guess, because everyone has their own lathe or machine that they're working on. So that's convenient. Acme's grown from a regional supplier to Midwest companies to international manufacturer, supplying many familiar companies like General Electric and 3M, Boeing, SpaceX, and more. The industries it serves include heating and air conditioning, filtration, architecture, cryogenic, food processing, agricultural, aerospace, chemicals, lighting, and the arts. Our capabilities, metal spinning is a method of forming sheet metal into cylinders, cones, domes, fan shrouds, and more. Today's metal spinning processes include skilled craftsmen, which do the hand spinning, CNC design, and spinning equipment, which produces parts at very great speeds and high quality. So this picture is one of our automatic lathes. And so this can be set up by one of our craftsmen with, you can see there, you can punch in certain diameters. So we have different capabilities. One of our machines has a 48-inch capability. A couple of them do actually, 60-inch diameters. But we actually go from you can spin an object from this big all the way up to 10 feet on our different lathes. The automatic lathes are smaller than our hand spinning lathes. Those are the ones that go up to 10 feet. We have good training going on here. Here's Larry. He was just retired this summer after over 40 years working with Acme. So we have definitely get people in the door, and they like to stay and work this as tradesmen here. So they run this machine. Here's one. This is Marty. He's running a 45-inch hand lathe, which he's using for trimming. And then this one is also this is a 24-inch hand lathe, which is just trimming. You can see a little bit of the metal coming off there. Now this is one of our bigger lathes. So this goes 76-inch diameter. You can tell the bigger it gets, maybe the stronger the metal is, the material that you're working with. And so this one's a hydraulic assist, so it helps spin those bigger pieces. And here is Yelby, and he's on the hydraulic assist. It goes 60 inches in diameter, which is even bigger. And then we have, this is just maybe a fraction of our shop. This is about a third, just coming in the door from the office, what it looks like. And there's Dale driving on the forklifts. Everybody who works at Acme has to know how to drive a forklift because that's how they get their material to their workstation and back. So here's another hydraulic assist. This goes up to 90 inches in diameter. You can see the flat piece here. So he's just starting. I'm kind of on the wrong end of it, but you can see the roller here. So he's pressing this metal roller into this flat metal piece. while it's spinning, and then this is the shape that it will form to. And then it's so heavy, these pieces, that here he has the hoist for these large pieces to move them around, so he doesn't have to lift them. And then it goes off to shipping. Once those, they take their forklift back to shipping department, trucks just back right in, and forklifts load them right on. And then once a month, we get all of our guys together and have lunch. And so we were celebrating some excellent production numbers that week, or that month, I should say. And so we had a pizza party. So that's some of our people right there. So I have a couple of videos here that will show you some samples of how our metal spinning process works. So I'm going to stop sharing this one and share a different video.
Perfect.
You can see it now, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Great.
here we go.
For spinning heavy duty industrial components like this 1/16 of an inch by 16-inch oval steel motor cover. With over 100 years experience, you can count on quality parts within budget and delivered on time. Call the experts at Acme Metal Spinning, 763-788-9051.
All right, we still have the same phone number. All right, here's the other one. Just another sampling. Not new, but.
Industries was called upon to custom design chandelier lighting fixtures for the new United Methodist Church in Plano, Texas. Kamen partnered with Acme Metal Spinning to fabricate the necessary bowl structure. Acme had the extra-large 140-inch diameter spinning system and experience fabricating very large architectural lighting fixtures. Design of the 8 chandeliers called for a 93-inch diameter bowl centered in a tubular steel structure. The requirement of fabricating the bowl from a 96-inch square, 1/8-inch thick aluminum sheet restricted the available process options to metal spinning. Acme's 140-inch diameter metal spinning lathe provided the solution. The requirement of fabricating the bowl from a 96-inch square, 0.125, 1/8-inch thick aluminum sheet restricted the available process options to metal spinning. Brian Mears, engineer for Kamen Industries, reported, "We have complete in-house metal spinning capabilities, but this project called for much larger diameter equipment than what we have. We saw that Acme Metal Spinning had the necessary large metal spinning, in-house tool building, and polishing equipment. An added bonus was their experience fabricating other large lighting chandeliers. To fabricate the chandelier bowl, Acme first designed and produced a laminated wood tooling pattern. Acme designed the tooling on its CAD system and then fabricated it in-house on a lathe system. Once complete, the tooling was mounted on Acme's 140-inch capacity Lyco spinning machine, one of the largest machines of this type in the United States. 8 of the 93-inch diameter bowls were fabricated by Acme in less than 8 weeks, including the tool build, spinning, and polishing operations. Acme Metal Spinning has been providing solutions for over 100 years to a variety of industries, including lighting, cryogenic, food, agricultural, and chemical, to name just a few. Interested in learning more about Acme? Visit us online at...
There it is.
Wow.
So what was neat about that last video is that it took you through the whole process, you know, and showed how he kept adjusting the parts and where because he was hand spinning it, so it wasn't automatic. I mean, he's really going back several times, and as it's forming, it's not just one, you know, mold through. So, and then the polishing and the trimming and everything like that. So
yeah, I like seeing that small supporting block to get as much of the surface polished as possible while it's on the lathe.
Right.
And those were that's right around the corner for me. I mean, depending on traffic, Plano's only about 20-30 minutes from me. So
okay.
Small world connection there.
That is. You could go check it out.
That seemed like a large and impressive project to have to to
Right.
figure out all the specs and the scale of that. Because there are, metal spinning shops in the, the Dallas Fort Worth area, but obviously I think shops that can handle that scale and that level of quality are few and far between.
Exactly. That's it. For the large sizes, that's why that's one of our specialties. Yeah. We have some automatics that do the smaller pieces in large amounts, but when you have an artist that wants, to do something where the lighting industry, these are very specific and there's only a handful of them, you're not doing thousands of pieces. And so they'll come for that limited amount. Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed pretty much, I mean, maybe you have some of the spoon tools, like the spinning tools that don't have, wheels or spheres that are reducing friction during the spinning process. But I noticed when we switched to teaching with those wheel tools, many more of our students were kind of responsive to the process, that they kind of felt a little bit better with those tools, and it wasn't quite as physically demanding with the, even just the leverage to move. And certainly our students aren't dealing with anything remotely close to that scale of materials, but that they, I don't know, they just felt a lot more comfortable and felt like they had better control of it, because it was more about figuring out the leverage points and not just like muscling through it. I think that there's, not that everyone knows a lot about metal spinning, but I think a common preconception is that you have to be some like huge hulking man to to do this.
Right.
And we've had great success with a full range of body types of our students really enjoying the spinning process and working for them at a range of scale. I mean, we're teaching metal smithing and jewelry making at University of North Texas. So it's obviously the objects our students are making are generally smaller than the size of their head. So
right. Yeah.
But even still, that can, like a 12-inch diameter circle is big for them to, particularly if it's a thicker gauge copper or something like that, for them to really get moving around. And
and it's, I think when our guys are starting out, they're starting off on smaller pieces. I think something like a pie pan, like a metal pie pan, for example, and it's very simple. It doesn't have a whole lot of, curvature to it, just, and maybe a little edge or lip. So they get to learn several different things when they're in training. And then they're practicing and what's it feel like on using a pie pan out of this material or that material, some of them have more give and some don't, depending on how heavy they are and how hard they are of a metal. So, and then they can feel it. They can really feel like, how is the machine, and every machine is different too. So yeah, they definitely have some practice pieces before they get going on the one big piece or whatever,
Have you had any potential employees have previous spinning experience, or do most of them come to you just with maybe other professional experience, but not necessarily with spinning?
I would say most of our guys are going to come from tool and die shops or something like that, where they work with their hands, they work with equipment, they work in a shop, so production and manufacturing backgrounds. We are recruiting some people from different colleges that have some, at least are familiar with measuring, and that's their interest. They want to work in a shop, they want to work with their hands. And one of the things, we did have some people come to us because after you get some experience in spinning, that's definitely something that we would love to have, people who are experienced with it. So we have a few people that came to us, even from other parts of the country, because it's so hard to find opportunities, right? So we had a couple of guys come all the way from, I want to say, Oregon to to Minnesota, because it's a specialty. So
yeah, I think another common misconception people have is that, like you were saying about machining shops or something like that, that it's a subtractive process, like that you have some giant block of material that you're carving down to, and they don't imagine, if people are familiar with a lathe, I think they've only seen some kind of subtractive process. Maybe it was a wood turning lathe or something like that, where sort of carving away. and I think maybe it comes from the fact that when people think of metal, they don't ever think of it moving. They only think of this hard, resilient material that this is the shape that it's in, and I'm not aware of how it became that shape. And I think that that's probably what they're most surprised about, and certainly something that really fascinated with me as I learned about metal spinning, that it was this forming process, that you're starting with a flat sheet of metal and using tools to shape it. And especially while it's spinning, and it's just, I don't know, I think it's fascinating. And I
Yeah.
think as people learn more about it, they realize more and more about all that is involved in doing it, and the subtleties and the skill and craftsmanship that develops over years of experience.
Right. I mean, we definitely can get people to come in and push a button and watch a machine do the forming, you know, and that's great because, I mean, you know, working with metal is having some experience with metal is going to help you do that job well, right? But as far as actually doing the hand spinning, I mean, that's definitely where the craftsmanship comes in, and you really get people who are interested and get the feel of it, and they know how to do it, and they want to work at it, and they're interested in that, and they're artists, really, you know.
Well, I was just going to say that everything you're describing is what I see with my students. And I think that there's, you know, maybe it's with less and less kind of industrial arts programs being in K through 12 schools. I mean, I think I was really fortunate, even in, I think it was in middle school, where we had a day a week. They called it occupational vocational training. So my middle school didn't have any facilities, and many, I think, in the city didn't, but they had one facility that they would rotate. And so different schools on different days would go and have, you know, so it's better than nothing. It's only one day a week. But it was this great experience to rotate through. And, you know, I had wood shop and metal shop and things like that. And it was just, I think it was at least a replacement for some of those industrial arts programs that weren't as popular. My high school did have an industrial arts program and you know, better sort of equipped facilities and things, but you know,
Mine did too.
You know, it's unfortunate, and I have more and more students that know less and less about tools. I don't know if it's generational, or there's sort of, like, I grew up with my dad having a workbench in the basement. Like, that seemed like a common thing, but I think that that's also kind of a less common thing I've seen with my students. I mean, they, even basic tools like hammers, don't quite understand like that type of lever, and the, you know, you have a weight with like a handle and you hold down at the end of the handle to make use of it. Like basic kind of tools, I find we have to teach that you can't assume students know how to use a hammer, even, much less, you know, a spinning lathe.
Yeah, it should be a basic of life basic that every kid learns at least one class, you know, because yeah, there's a lot of people out there that want to work with their hands. They don't want to just do math or science or whatever. And there is a science to it, and certainly you use math, but you don't have to do a ton of physics here. I mean, you're doing it, but you don't have to know why. Works that way.
Well,
it's
yeah,
good.
and like, people learn I'm a metalsmith, and there's an assumption that I know a lot of metallurgy. So, and I think it's really similar in that I know what works, but I may not know exactly why it's working. And I'm okay with that. You can't know everything. And so I know that I need to do this, this, and this in order to make the metal soft, and so I can form it more easily or something like that. I've read about and become interested in sort of seeing more information about the metallurgy of what's going on. But, you know, when I meet new people and they're like, oh, you're a metalsmith. And so they confuse that word with metallurgy. And so there's definitely a huge difference between kind of theory versus, you know, practical experience and knowledge. And I mean, that's something that I love about, you know, teaching our art students, is that they're definitely have become interested in making things.
Right.
And
experiential learning.
Yes.
Get in there, let's do it, and let's learn how it works.
Well,
and the safety of it all.
Yeah, and I do talk with my students about applying their creativity to career paths, in that they got into the arts because they were creative, but then we have students, particularly as they go into metalsmithing and jewelry, that get interested in more technical aspects. And
Mhm.
so you and I previously talked about, periodically I'll have one student that will introduce metal spinning and be like, oh, this is my thing, I really am so into this one thing. Or more commonly we'll have students that say, oh, I really love stone setting, and so they'll go what would be considered a more technical route in the arts of going to work for a jeweler and doing repairs, or doing kind of a more technical aspect, like stone setting every
Yeah.
day, all day, more production.
Yeah, the sad thing is, I mean, I went to art school too. And the sad thing is, once you get out of college, there goes your studio and your workspace and your hours and hours getting to hang out doing, working on your craft. And so what's neat about metal spinning is that people that work here, or artists that get jobs here, they're be able to support their families. And then there's also free time where they can use the lathes and all of this extra material that's laying around and make something. So that's a nice perk too.
Yeah, lots of, and I guess in my head I think that that interest in making is more unifying between what would be typically seen as very separate fields of sort of art and industry.
Mhm.
And we talked a little bit about that before, but I think that there's just such great potential where there's some overlap or some back and forth, and
Yeah,
just great potential for new projects, like you mentioned, working with you know more design, like with that huge lighting project and everything else. That's
right.
somewhere art, craft, design, industry sort of connects all of those fields. It's really exciting.
Right. Yeah. Who knew? Yeah, it's a neat place.
Well, thanks so much for sharing everything that you're doing there at Acme Metal Spinning, and I'm really excited to be able to share that too, and have more and more people aware of just the amazing things that are done with metal spinning, and hopefully get other folks interested in it. So, thank
Thanks
you.
so much, James. Yeah. Thank you for having me on and letting me share about Acme Metal Spinning. Such a special place here, family-owned business, and been doing it for over 100 years. I mean, that's a little piece of American history. So
Yeah,
cool. So happy to share
wonderful.
that.
All right. Well, thanks so much again, and we'll certainly be in touch.
All right. Thanks, James.
All
I'll
right.
see you. Bye-bye.
Bye. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you can hear from me when I post future videos. Thanks for stopping by.